If you're thinking about buying a Tesla, stop watching random TikToks and Reddit threads for a minute. I've owned 3 Model Ys, including this refreshed Juniper, and after about nearly a year with the car, I've learned that some of the biggest concerns and fears that people have simply don't match the reality. Today I'm putting real numbers behind every concern, from charging and maintenance to insurance and to battery replacement and to everything in between. I'll also go over what Tesla changed with the refreshed Juniper and what they actually messed up. Let's dive right in. Charging time is where I think people get misled because a 7 to 8 hour number isn't wrong, it's just missing context. Plug into a standard wall outlet and yes, you could be waiting over a full day for a complete charge. That's not really a charging solution, that's an emergency backup. What you actually want is a 240 volt setup, the same kind of outlet your dryer uses, or a proper wall connector. That gets you a full charge in around 8 hours, but here's the part that matters. You're never charging from empty. The average commute burns somewhere around 20% of a full charge. That's what you're replacing every night, not the whole battery. I plug in before bed, wake up full, and the entire process is genuinely less thought about than charging my phone. Now, if you can't charge at home or at work, I'll be straight up with you. Think hard before buying an EV, not just this one. Public charging is more expensive than home charging, sometimes close to what you pay for gas once you actually run the numbers. And instead of a 5-minute gas station top-up, you're looking at 20 to 30 minutes at a supercharger. It's not impossible, plenty of people do it, but you lose the single best part of owning one of these, which is never thinking about fuel again. Home charging isn't a nice to have, it's basically half the reason to own an EV at all. This leads me to the electric bill because this is the one that everyone has an opinion about. Look at your bill and find your price per kilowatt hour. That number is about to matter more than you think. Mine sits at around 12 cents per kilowatt hour. This Model Y carries a roughly 82 kilowatt hour battery pack, so a full charge from empty is somewhere around $10. $10 for just 327 miles. Do that math against a full tank of gas and it's not even a fair fight. Let's say you do 1,200 miles a month on this thing. Your electric bill moves maybe about $30 a month. Meanwhile, my gas spend went to exactly $0. People love to say your electric bill goes up, and yeah, sure, that's technically true, but they're always leaving out the part where your other bill disappears entirely. And then there's the maintenance, which might be the most underrated part of owning one of these things. There's no engine to service, no oil, no spark plugs, no timing belt, none of it. Even the brakes barely wear out because the car is doing most of its slowing down through regen braking instead of friction, which if you haven't driven one is going to be the single strangest thing about your first test drive. Lift off the accelerator pedal and the car just stops itself. It takes about a week to stop feeling weird and about a month before you can't imagine driving any other way. After that, your only real monthly costs are the car payment and insurance, and the app even tracks a couple of things you need to do, like wiper blade replacements, cabin air filter, tire rotation, so you're not guessing it. Tires are the next one, and this is where I think the internet gets genuinely lazy. The claim is that EVs are dramatically heavier and eat through rubber and they need special $500 EV tires just to keep up. Neither part of that is entirely true. Compare this to a comparably sized gas SUV, and the weight difference is smaller than people assume. Most of that battery weight is offset by not having an engine, transmission, or an exhaust system hanging off the car. What actually destroys tires is instant torque meeting a heavy right foot, which fair is a legitimate temptation the first week you own one of these things. Drive it like a normal person or use chill mode, and a totally ordinary set of tires, like the ones already on the car, will last a totally ordinary lifespan. For years, FSD was a party trick at best. You're essentially supervising a nervous new driver the entire time. That's not true anymore. Somewhere around the new hardware and software generation, it crossed a threshold, and the version rolling out now is another step up from that. Put in a destination across town and it just handles it. Merges, traffic lights, turns, parking, all with you just supervising along for the ride. It went from something I'd occasionally show friends to something I actually use on a regular basis. And Tesla is running actual driverless robotaxis in a few cities, which tells you where the ceiling is. But that leads me to the next point. A thing that changed recently that actually matters for your budget is that you can no longer buy FSD outright. Earlier this year, Tesla killed the one-time purchase option completely. It's subscription only now, monthly, so no lump sum and no owning it forever. If you're doing the math on the car, build that into your real cost of ownership because it's not a one and done payment anymore. It's a recurring bill for as long as you want the feature active. And that's part of a bigger pattern worth being honest about. The car quietly wants you on a few subscriptions. FSD if you want it, premium connectivity if you want live traffic, streaming, and internet browsing on the big screen instead of just the basics. None of these things are required to drive the car. You can absolutely own one without paying extra every month. But if you're picturing this as a completely bill-free car once you've paid it off, it's not quite that simple. Go in with your eyes open on what you actually want versus what you're fine skipping. Real quick, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I've got a ton more videos coming soon and I don't want you to miss out. Here's what's actually different about this car versus the outgoing Model Y, and it's more than just a facelift. Cabin noise is a standout. Tesla added acoustic glass and retuned the whole car, and highway refinement, which honestly was one of the old car's weakest points, and now it's noticeably improved. Ride quality got softened up too, without turning too floaty, and the performance trim adds an adaptive suspension so you can toggle between a comfortable daily setting and something tighter. The small stuff adds up more than you'd expect. Ventilated front seats, which you will not appreciate until the very first hot day you get in this car versus your old one. Ambient lighting that wraps around the cabin and makes it feel better at night. A rear screen with its own climate and entertainment controls, which turned my backseat passengers into non-complainers. And on safety, there's an added front camera and additional airbag coverage, including one between the front seats. Practicality is still a strength here too. Rear cargo space is enormous, the rear seats fold flat automatically at a press of a button, and the frunk up front is deep enough to actually be useful rather than decorative. They've also added this drain plug, which is honestly a game changer. Combined with the real rear legroom for full-size adults, this remains one of the most usable interiors in its price range. Here's another place where new owners are wasting a surprising amount of money: accessories. The second you buy a Tesla, YouTube and Amazon are going to convince you that you need 50 different things for this car. The reality is you probably don't. There are plenty of useful accessories out there, but there's also an entire industry built around selling you expensive plastic that does absolutely nothing. I actually bought and tested the most popular Tesla accessories to figure out which ones are actually worth owning and which ones are just marketing. It ended up becoming one of the most comprehensive Model Y accessories guides I've made, and honestly one of the most thorough ones you'll find on YouTube. So before you spend hundreds of dollars on random Amazon purchases, I recommend watching that video first. It'll save you money and probably keep you from buying a lot of stuff you'll never actually use. The battery replacement fear is probably the most overblown claim in the entire EV conversation. Every new Tesla comes with an 8-year, 100,000 to 120,000 mile battery and drivetrain warranty depending on the trim. Most people finance a car for 5 or 6 years and then just trade it in. You're comfortably inside that warranty window the entire time you own it, unless you're truly putting down abnormal mileage. And here's something that most people don't realize. For battery health, time matters more than distance. A battery that sits for 8 years degrades more than one that's driven hard in the same period. Yes, an out-of-warranty replacement is a real expense. Recent pricing I've seen lands around $10,000 to $12,000, not the wild $20,000 to $30,000 figures that gets thrown around online. But the odds you'll ever actually need one are in the same range as your engine completely failing in a gas car. Low single-digit percentages. Nobody researches engine failure rates before buying a Camry. It's just that EV anxiety gets applied unevenly. Reliability is another area where Tesla's reputation often doesn't match the ownership experience. People love to bring up panel gaps, rattles, and quality control, but after owning multiple Model Ys, including this refreshed Juniper, my experience has honestly been pretty uneventful. I haven't had any reliability issues with this car. That's not to say that every Tesla leaves the factory perfect, because they don't. But I do think the internet makes those issues seem far more common than they actually are. People rarely make videos about the car that drives quietly and works exactly as expected. And to Tesla's credit, build quality and control have improved significantly over the years. The issues that gave the early Model Ys a bad reputation are far less common than the refreshed model. Depreciation is one of the few claims that's partially fair, so I'll give it that. A lot of the scariest depreciation stories came from the people who bought at the absolute peak of the market back in 2022 and then watched Tesla lower MSRPs. And yes, whenever a car gets a meaningful refresh like this one, the outgoing model takes a depreciation hit. And that's true of literally every car ever refreshed, not something unique to Tesla. The real lesson here isn't about your Tesla specifically, it's that cars are not investments, they're depreciating assets you enjoy while they depreciate. Insurance and service costs come down to you and where you live more than the car itself. I pay a reasonable insurance rate for mine, nothing shocking. What people should actually complain about is service center wait times. Those can be really slow because Tesla went from a niche company to the best-selling car in the world faster than the service network could scale. The upside is anything urgent or anything wrong on delivery day tends to get handled fast. It's the minor non-urgent stuff that you might be waiting a while for. I'd be lying if I skipped this one. The vandalism wave from a couple years back, keyed paint or worse, has mostly faded, and it was concentrated in big cities and aimed disproportionately at Cybertrucks rather than the Model Y. I haven't personally dealt with any of it, thankfully. Part of that is luck, and part of that is Sentry Mode, which records in every direction at any moment anyone gets near the car. That alone is a pretty strong deterrent. Approach this car with bad intentions and you're doing it on camera. Paint protection film adds another layer if you want peace of mind, and some kits even come with a vandalism guarantee attached. I installed a DIY PPF kit on the front end of my Model Y, and it was easier than I expected. I paid a fraction of what the shops were quoting me for the PPF. If you want the PPF that I use, I'll link it down below in the description for you to check out. Whether Elon's politics factor into your decision is entirely personal, and I'm not going to tell you how to feel about it. I will say I've heard from people on every side of that. Some buying specifically because of it, some refusing to buy because of it as well. That's a values call, not a spec sheet call, and only you can make it. None of this means it's perfect, and I'd rather tell you the annoying parts than let you find out after you've purchased the vehicle. One thing people worried about before this refresh was that Tesla was moving turn signals to buttons on the steering wheel. I actually have the opposite opinion. After living with them in the Cybertruck, they become completely second nature within a few days, and now I actually prefer them to be carried over in the Model Y. I don't think the steering wheel buttons are nearly the problem people were making them out to be. Rear visibility is another compromise. The rear window is fairly small, so you end up relying on the cameras more than you would in a traditional SUV. It only takes a little time to adjust, but it's worth knowing going in. Also, as I mentioned, Tesla dropped a free version of autopilot on all new cars, and they're pushing buyers toward the paid FSC subscription instead. And I think that's actually a consumer unfriendly move regardless of how good FSC has become. And if you're cross-shopping trims, know what you're actually buying. The lower price standard trim gives up meaningful range and a handful of features to hit that low price. If your budget allows it, I'd recommend stepping up to the long range. So, is it perfect? No. But it is still dollar for dollar the best value daily driver car you can get right now. And is it meaningfully better than it was before the refresh? I'd say yes, and it's not even close. If you're on the fence like how I was before I bought mine, let me know in the comments what's holding you back from pulling the trigger. If you were on the fence before and you now have one, tell me in the comments also what made you make that purchase. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one.